I think linear thinking really traps more minds than people realize. So you will talk about something, and because of the linear timeline on things, people will immediately have this whole like, well, that can't be possible because this came first. But I'm going to go with like Marcus Aurelius and Nietzsche again for a second here, because this is kind of where the thought comes from. Is yes, Marcus Aurelius came before Nietzsche, but Marcus Aurelius's mind covered a lot of things that Nietzsche ended up looking at differently and having a perspective this way. But Marcus Aurelius's mindset kind of already covered the pitfalls of that thinking without ever having to know who Nietzsche was, or that Nietzsche was going to be the one to fall for this pitfall, because he was able to see that in his time. And people a lot of the times will go, well, because Marcus Aurelius came first, he can't really criticize or critique Nietzsche. No, he can't critique Nietzsche as a person, but he can critique Nietzsche's ideas and thoughts of things and how he moved and navigated things, even though Marcus Aurelius came first, because he's talking on a thought and action type of thing, and not specifically who that person is to fall into the pitfall. And so a lot of what you do with your brain is make these kind of obscure justifications of why something can't fit. And usually that obscure thing is the linear timeline of things, that it's not possible because the linear timeline, not realizing that yes, time moves forward, but because there's this secular pattern in things, that it doesn't have to be the constraints that everything is held by, because a lot of things aren't linear trapped. So thoughts, your mind, your thinking, these things are not imprisoned by time. Yes, in a way you can say that a person in ancient times can't think of technology, but because technology is built off of the resources that they did have, the same as movies can pre-predict what's going to actually be made eventually, that same thing happens. Is no, they're not looking into the future and seeing that there's flying hoverboard drone things. They just made a movie with the concept of hoverboards, and then time happened, and because that concept and thought was there, people then were able to focus their mind to really make that thing a possibility. So no, the time constraints that you think that are there are not necessarily there, because we're not trapped by this linear motion to everything. There's a complex web of connections that actually happens. And so a thought made in the beginning can have a huge impact down the line. Most of the time, that's how something's created, is by the thought that was originally there. And same as goes, somebody can, from the ancient past, have a simpler thinking of things and understand the pitfalls that are going to come to the more complex thinking of things, because they miss the simplicity of it, where the person that only has the simplicity is able to think in that. So they're not going to understand the complete complexity of what they're talking and navigating through, but they can still understand the pitfalls of it from their simplistic thinking. I hope that makes sense to y'all. If it doesn't, I'm sorry. It is what it is.